station, KPFA, really, well, it didn't lose the signal. It just got overwhelmed by a new transmitter in Grass Valley transmitting on the same frequency, 94.1, that kind of overpowered this area. So all of a sudden, we were blacked out. And there was several months, several meetings of attempting to see what could be done. And then that kind of effort, I don't know what all happened. I had a personal crisis go on in my life that pulled me out of it. But all I know is we haven't had the signal since. So I think, and when I heard about this and it got passed to me secondhand, I thought, well, it's a good opportunity to both to rekindle interest in that as well as any opportunity that we have to get progressive radio here in Sacramento. We've already got opportunities, as Jeannie can mention when she gets a chance to introduce herself, about cable TV and local access here in Sacramento. So I'll stop now. I wanted to have Eric, who is one of the board members here, and Esteban, I think, is a new board member, and it was through Eric's invitation that we have the meeting here today, and also perhaps to offer some facilities here. So Eric, maybe go ahead with that.
Well, hi everybody, Eric Vega. I belong to the Freedom Bound Center's Soul Collective. This is the Soul Collective right here. It's dedicated to arts and to culture and to activism. I also help run what's known as the Sacramento Activist School, and it's our political viewpoint that one of the central problems in our country today is the problem of right-wing conservatism and extremism, and that it needs to be confronted ideologically, economically, and politically. So that's our viewpoint. And so, in talking to my good friend Mikos, we had a commonality of interests in that we would love to see progressive radio have a stronger voice in Sacramento. So that's why I offered up our space so that we could have a conversation and see if we can move that forward. That's our thinking. But we're organizationally self-interested as well. We work with young people. We're particularly interested in working with young people to encourage them to become social justice activists. And one part of that is if we can ever promote some kind of like a radio station where they could do an internship and learn from their elders, but also bring new ideas to the microphone. So to that extent, it would dovetail in the kinds of things that we're trying to do here. We have a space. I'm not sure how long we're going to be here, because if we have some opportunities, we might grow bigger. But for right now, we're here. And so if this group somehow moved in the direction of being able to create another radio station or some form like that, then we have some space and we would want to talk about how we could get you in here. Privately, I have room for a couple of meetings, but I don't have room for lots of meetings. And I don't know if that's what your kind of situation is, but I would want to know that coming out of this meeting, some people have juice to put something together and not to talk about putting things together. Do you know what I'm saying right now? Mm-hmm. So that's my viewpoint. I wanted to share it and be quite upfront. My hope is that people will want to make something happen and start putting the constituent blocks to make it happen and not study it indefinitely and keep on talking about it's a good idea. Welcome, everyone.
Maybe we could just go around and everybody could just say their name and organization you're affiliated with, if any.
My name is Greg Adams. I'm with Wellstone Progressives here. That's where I got the email. Sounds like a good idea to come check out. Progressive radio station sounds like a great idea, especially if it's local.
My name is Arun. I'm a private citizen, don't represent anyone. My interest is childhood literacy, and I'm interested in starting a nonprofit that would have books read on the radio, a dedicated station that would just have books that would be 24 hours a day being read so that a child in the neighborhood could turn on the radio to that station and be read to if their parents weren't able to do that. And I've been looking to see how to get on the radio and get some space, so exploring on the website I found Prometheus, and I thought this was a forum that I'd just like to explore and see if my interest in childhood literacy and promoting that could dovetail with this new bandwidth that's opening.
Wow, great idea.
My name is Esteban. I'm just joining the board here. I just graduated from Sac State, and I've always been interested in radio. I did an internship at Capital Public Radio just down there, and I learned a lot. It was pretty fun, but I only started listening to the news when I moved to Berkeley, so I started listening to KPFA, and so I was pretty lucky to have that. So I started learning about low power FM when my best friend, I found out his father had one in his backyard. So he does a pretty wide section of Sassoon and Fairfield, and from what I understand it's pretty cheap and it's pretty powerful. I know that the Bay of Pigs was stopped because of radio, and I got interested in politics through radio. So if I could help with setting up a radio station here, I'd like to do that.
My name's Jamie. I'm a student at Sacramento State. I'm studying communications. I'm part of Students for College Education, which is an internship program under the California Faculty Association. We work in partnership. And I got interested in radio because of Esteban. And I just saw how powerful it'd be if we did have something like that in Sacramento, where people inform about the upcoming events. And more like a community growing so that we can all know what's going on locally. And also grew interest after the tornado in the East Coast, where it was like a low power radio that really kept the citizens informed. And all of like the bigger media weren't there. They had like some of the bigger media had said that had been over, like everything was done. So I'm interested in being part of this project.
Hi, I'm Beth. I work with the Prometheus Radio Project in Philadelphia. I am here in Sacramento because I'm from Sacramento and just happened to be visiting, so it turns out to be a really lucky time. Anyway, for those of you who might be unfamiliar with Prometheus, we're a national organization that works to support community media, especially community radio stations. We do station support, station building. We help people do the legal work that goes into getting a station. So what I'd like to do here, as well as facilitate the conversation, is collect all of your contact information so that when you apply and when you'd like to apply, and if you have questions, you can always contact Prometheus, and Prometheus can contact you and keep you updated on the process. So I'm really excited to be here, and it seems like you already have a great space. And Prometheus was part of a coalition to help pass the Local Community Radio Act. So this is our like follow-up step, is hosting these events. And everyone back in Philly is really excited to hear what happens in Sacramento. So I'd like to send them some good news. So hopefully we have a good session today.
So you're kind of like a think tank resource center for this movement.
The Prometheus Radio Project is, we do legal work with the FCC. So right now we're filing comments on the recent legislation that just passed with the Local Community Radio Act and getting it enacted. So, but we also just work with individual stations. So it's sort of a really broad spectrum of things that we do.
Who funds you?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
We get funding, our largest funding is from individual donors. We also get funding from the Ford Foundation and a couple other major grants, but that's, I do outreach, not development. So. Anyway.
Just curious as to who would be so radical as to
fund
independent radio. Yeah, Ford, you never know. My name is Jeannie Keltner, and I do media has been my focus really for the past 20 years. I did a little paper here in town, Because People Matter. I was one of the editors that covered all kinds of local political stuff. And I distribute, and for the past 5 years, the Rock Creek Free Press. And then I do a show on cable access every Monday night at 8 on, it's called Soapbox, and it's all about as progressive and radical as you can get, as we can get people here in town. So I want to help in any way that I can. That is not, I actually don't want to be a main part of the project, but I want to be like a grandmother.
Just the need for progressive independent media is just indispensable. You can't rely on NPR. It's just corporate.
Oh, we can.
And I used to be a DJ at my old college radio station, and so I'm really enthusiastic about this effort. Whenever I'm in Fresno, I listen to the station there, and I really admire Fresno for having the progressive backbone to bring KPFA to the Central Valley the way they do, and I think that's really something for us to emulate.
Jeff and Todd.
Okay, I'm Jeff Shaw, and I work out at Davis Media Access. I'm also on the board and help start a Common Frequency, and we help people. Actually, I'll let Todd talk about Common Frequency. So I work out at Davis Media Access. We started a low power station called KDRT out there back during the first window for low power stations, and we run that, and also public access TV. We run the Voice and some of the other programs out here, and they come from out here. They get bicycled out there, and that's it. I'll shut up and we'll talk more later.
I'm Todd Garrick, and I'm the technical director at the nonprofit Common Frequency. And Common Frequency was started about 2006, and we exist to same type of goals as the Prometheus Radio Project, except we're starting a few dozen stations on the West Coast, except we're actively sort of partners in some of those projects, in which we try to help them build the stations and try to fundraise, and eventually are trying to link the stations together to share programming. So on the progressive side, freeform radio, alternative stuff.
Okay, one other new person that we have here.
My name is Brad Clark. I'm a media communications teacher at Franklin High School in Elk Grove, and we're looking how we might have students involved in it.
So you heard through Bronson, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, your first name again?
Brad Clark.
Brad Clark, thanks.
Excuse me. That's the name tag.
Yeah, you got any left?
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
You can put your name here. Well, I'm Stephen Levinson. I'm a university professor at Cal State Monterey Bay, also vice president of the faculty union there, and teach video production and radio production, and I'm kind of the volunteer, unauthorized West Coast representative of Prometheus on some level, and just have been working in radio production and video production and just community use of media for a long time, and really interested in just developing people's understanding of that, and in this case, really preparing people to actually make the application and open the low power frequency stations. I mean, I know there's some people here who are very serious, and I think your issue was absolutely correct. I know the access people who are actually expected to be here, what's it called?
Yeah, I thought Ron Cooper might be.
Yeah, I mean, I met with him the last time I was in Sacramento, so I know they're very interested in supporting it. And they have a lot of expertise in terms of on-air time and their own internet radio stations. So I think when you get to the next stage, I think they'll be very helpful and very supportive. They've applied before, and they're very interested in making this happen. Should I just sort of get into this?
Yeah, I think you should take it away.
This is basically sort of an introduction to the basic process of this application. There's kind of a range of experiences here. If you have any questions at any time, raise your hand. I know some of you are very knowledgeable about radio. Some of you this is fairly new to. If Beth ever wants to jump in with anything,
Sure.
the floor is certainly open. So this is just about what radio can do. And it's really designed to just make a local community able to talk to itself. It's very much about developing local voice in a very defined area. And these are just sort of the things I'll be running through. What's happened, as Beth was talking about, is the Community Radio Act was passed, opening up a huge number of frequencies all across the country. It's the largest expansion of community radio ever. Prometheus pretty much led the fight on that, and we pretty much owe Prometheus even being able to have this meeting at this point. It will open thousands of radio stations all across the country, only for nonprofits. Hello? You could come in and learn something. Not available to corporations, by definition.
And I will just throw it like, and this is the first time in maybe the last 10 years that these frequencies have opened in major cities. So that's something we're really excited about is Sacramento especially has several frequencies opening up potentially. So that's something that hasn't happened in a really long time.
Right.
That's why this is a historic opportunity. We're really trying to get people organized for this opportunity that's not going to happen probably again for another long time.
So we don't want to waste it.
Exactly.
So low power, only available to non-commercial, nonprofits, schools, community groups, and churches. Churches have a tendency to have, funding, support, media outreach, and end up doing a lot of applications. So part of our goal, part of my goal, is to just make sure there are community organizations that have the same amount of knowledge and preparation that a lot of the churches are going to have. It's a 100-watt station with some limitations on antenna height. You can generally reach from 3 to 10 miles. You can usually cover a city. Just went through the whole thing. There's variations based on geography, power, height of antenna. So all of that you sort of have to develop some engineering preparation for, which I'll talk a little bit more about, but you can generally reach a decent city. Again, based on some geography limitations. The schedule can be very varied. The goal is to have a local voice. One of the things is you don't have to feel like you have to pack that station with that. There are other alternatives. You can play Democracy Now! You can play Pacifica Evening News. You can play Al Jazeera's 3 o'clock half-hour broadcast. You can have a variety of voices, with the goal being to really allow local people to have a voice to the community. So you want to make that an emphasis, but you don't have to feel like you need 150 volunteers.
Oh, I was just going to say something about hours during the day of broadcast. When the FCC looks over applications, you get a certain number of points, and that is how your application is passed through. One of the points being you have to broadcast at least 5 hours a day. So in your planning process, that should be something to take into account. And you get more points if you can broadcast 12 hours a day. So
and you get more points the more local voice you have.
Exactly, yeah.
What does that mean, the more local voice you have?
So in other words, if you put a schedule together that's all Al Jazeera English, Pacifica News, Democracy Now!, they're like, well, these people over here, they actually want to talk to themselves. So some credence. Nobody knows exactly what the point system will be this time. We're both talking from history at this point. Historically, you have gotten points for having a larger number of hours on schedule of local people.
Do they publish the points criteria before you file your application?
Do they publish the...
How do they analyze the points?
They will. We're expecting that in December?
In December, that's when we expect to know, but for right now, we don't know.
Yeah. So what we're talking about now is sort of what they did the last time.
Yeah.
And we're sort of assuming it'll be very similar to that. But there's a couple of things the FCC hasn't actually specified yet, which is why you need to start paying attention, like from now. Which is kind of what we were just talking about. We don't know exactly what these numbers will be for given markets until the FCC answers a couple of questions about distance from frequencies and a couple of other things that are still being discussed. Obviously, rural areas that have less stations are going to have more opportunity. Sacramento definitely does have some stations. Now, when we throw out a number like 10, we're talking about the Sacramento market.